What's up, YouTube? This is politically incorrect. So, do you agree with this? Do you agree with each decade for each top black comic? Red Fox, the 1960s, Richard Pryor, the 1970s, Eddie Murphy, the 1980s, Martin Lawrence, the 1990s, Dave Chappelle, the 2000s, and Kevin Hart, the 2000 teens. You agree with that? I think this is pretty fair, though. Me personally, I would push Red Fox to 1950s. That's when he was at his peak as far as those party records are concerned. Those dirty records that, your grandparents or your great grandparents listened to at night when you were asleep. Then again, I forget some of my audience is a lot younger, but whatever. The 60s, I would put Bill Cosby on there. But maybe they changed it for political reasons, politically correct reasons. But Bill Cosby should be, I think, young Bill Cosby should be the face of the 60s. He was a comedic phenomenon, man. Remember, he was the first black person on network television with the I Spy series with Robert Culp. But also, you could mention in the 1960s, honorable mention to Dick Gregory and Godfrey Cambridge. 70s and 80s, I agree with, of course. 1990s, I guess I give the nod to Martin Lawrence, but you also have to give honorable mention to a guy like Chris Rock. In the 2000s and 2000 teens, I agree with those. But anyway, I want to segue into something that is important to me, and that is comedy. I've grown up being heavily influenced by comedians, and I marvel at the stand-up comic, the ability to stand in the middle of a stage with a crowd that can number in the hundreds and sometimes thousands, with the pressure, the intense and unrelenting pressure to be funny. It's not always easy, especially to do it consistently for a long period of time and with new material. But I've always been drawn toward the controversial comic. The controversial comic who uh, is funny, is humorous, but he's saying these things in a humorous manner, but he's actually speaking truths. And to me, I've always been drawn toward the comic who paved the way and broke down walls and barriers for future comedians and future generations. At one point in time, the noise was coming from the right. They were the ones that were trying to infringe upon what someone could say, how they could say it. And they affected the lives, literally, the life of Lenny Bruce, led to him overdosing to an extent. Though he already had that problem beforehand, but I think the stress of his career being crumbled from censorship accelerated that process. Then, of course, you had George Carlin go through his BS and the 7 words you can't say on television, or 7 words you can't say. And then, of course, Richard Pryor, who at one point in time was trying to copy Bill Cosby, but slowly became himself and bared his soul and became the comedic genius that we began to greatly admire. Another comic I would bring up is Bill Hicks. If you never listened to Bill Hicks, he died at the tragically young age of 32 back in February of 1994 of pancreatic cancer. Um, but he came of age during the Reagan Revolution and the conservative 80s and the the Christian coalition era. Um, he was he grew up in the South. I think he grew up in Louisiana or Mississippi or one of those states, and lived in Texas. And he came from an area that was very conservative, and he rebelled against that. And you know, and he didn't become as big as he should have been. I think if he came of age now, he'd be a huge star. But now, much of the restriction is coming not from the right, but it's coming from the left because of, you know, a lot of it has to do with an entire generation that has become overly coddled from the real world. There are a lot of people out there who really don't quite understand and really don't want to accept that there's always going to be a large segment of this population that's not going to like you. There are a lot of people out there walking in this country, this supposedly big, beautiful country that we have, that will never fucking like me because of the color of my skin. They will never fucking like me because of my personality. They will never fucking like me because they just don't want to fucking like me. And that needs to be something that people have to realize. There are some people who aren't going to like you. Period. But they don't want to accept that. you know? And this is a generation of people who have been coddled and given awards and participation awards and trophies for just breathing and, not killing and murdering people. And, they think that they're special. I remember reading a poll, right? A poll that was conducted back in the 1940s, the early 1940s. And they asked what percentage of Americans thought that they were special. And I think that total was like 7% of Americans thought that they were special. Fast forward to today, and 80% of Americans think that they are special. You're not special. Very, very few people are special. I'm not special. Unless you've cured AIDS or cancer or have made a major contribution to society or, a lot of these athletes who think they're special, they're not special. Throwing a football around or putting a ball through the hoop doesn't make you fucking special or a major contributor to our society. I think the people who keep our floors in the malls and in public places dry so I don't bust my ass and break my hip, I think they're more special than fucking, say, Ben Simmons. But that's just my opinion. But I want to get on these people. This video is not going to be very long. I want to get on these people who walk around here and think that they are better than other people. And therefore, they are above criticisms or above being joked upon. And I'm sorry, a lot of these people, a lot of them do come on the left. Now, not all of them. You have your Karens and your Kevins. These people who will quickly call the cops on you because you looked at them funny. I get that. Not all of them from the left, but a lot of them come from the left, man. And it's these people who look at themselves as perpetual victims. Someone owes them something. Society owes them something. Society wronged them. And therefore, you make jokes about them that, in their mind, confirms that people are out to get them. They want to cancel you. They want to cancel you because you make a joke about them. The thing is, there are no restrictions when it comes to comedy. When it comes to comedy, any and everyone is fair game. There's a certain community out there that thinks that they are exempt from everything, which is interesting because a lot of them will laugh and guffaw at a black joke or a fat joke. They will laugh at an Indian joke. They will laugh at any and every joke that doesn't involve them. But once you make one joke that's at their expense, and they will label you a homophobe or a trans homophobe, whatever the proper term is for that. They'll call you, as you see with a certain ESPN personality, if you make any statement that seems slightly negative, you'll be called a Asian hater. But you got some people today who will still tell you that Mark Furman was not racist for using the N word in that tape. Interesting, right? Very, very interesting. Mark Furman used the most insidious racial slur in our country's history multiple times, and people try to intellectualize and Nadia Comaneci it. I'm talking about the mental gymnastics. They will do all of these different tricks and jiggles and wiggles and spins and spin moves and pump fakes and everything, trying to deter you away from the truth. But the thing is, nobody is above reproach. Basically, what I'm trying to say. It bothers me. It pains me when I see people always trying to tell and lecture people what you can and what you can't say. We see it on YouTube. I've been suspended twice in the last 3 months off of bullshit. Absolute, complete bullshit. We're losing what little freedoms we had. We're losing them. And this country's going to go to shit. It's going to shit. Okay? This wish that some of us have that we're going to go back in time. All these delusional people who think that this country's going to go back to the 50s, it's not. But yet, all these people who have this dream that this country may be this utopian society, it never will. Our country is a piece of shit. And that's pretty much the perpetual state that we're going to be in. Our country is, I guess, that piece of shit that's chugging along the stinky, fucking, slothy, slimy filled colon of the cosmos. And that's about it. You know what I'm saying? Tell me what you guys think.